Hello and welcome. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on project management. And yeah, I know what you're probably thinking. It sounds like something full of corporate jargon and boring charts. But what if I told you it's actually the secret sauce for turning any big idea into a real, tangible thing? Let's jump in.
Okay, this might sound like the setup for a really weird joke, but stick with me. On one hand, you've got this monumental, incredibly complex mission to send a rocket into orbit. And on the other, you've got something fun, personal, like planning a party. They seem like they're from different universes, right? But believe it or not, they share the exact same DNA.
And the answer is they're both projects. See, a project isn't about how big or small it is. It's really about two simple things. First, it's temporary. It has a very clear beginning and a definite end. It doesn't go on forever. And second, it's unique. It's all about creating something that didn't exist before, whether that's a new piece of technology in space or just the awesome memory of a great party.
And that's what makes a project so different from the daily grind. Operations, that's the stuff that keeps the lights on. It's ongoing, it's repetitive, like an assembly line churning out the same thing day after day. A project, though, that's a mission to create change. It's about designing that new thing in the first place. So why do we even bother with projects? Well, it always boils down to one word: value. Now, sometimes that value is tangible, something you can count, like money. But it can also be intangible, things like boosting your company's reputation or making customers happier. At the end of the day, if a project isn't creating some kind of value, it's really just a bunch of busy work. All right, so we've got a handle on what a project is, but how in the world do you actually pull one off without everything flying off the rails? Well, it all starts with the blueprint. You gotta have a master plan. And let's be real, this is the classic project dilemma, isn't it? You have this big, amazing goal, but the path forward is kind of fuzzy. It's impossible to know every single twist and turn from day one. So where do you even begin to make a plan?
Well, the smart way to do it is with a concept called progressive elaboration. Think of it like building a house. You don't start by picking out doorknobs. You start with the high-level architectural drawings. Then you plan the foundation in extreme detail right before you pour the concrete. You worry about the paint colors right before the painters show up. You add the fine details in waves, just when you need them.
Now, once you have a version of your plan that everyone agrees on, you lock it in. That approved plan is now your baseline. You can think of it as the official map for your entire journey. It's the yardstick you use to measure every bit of progress. And you can't just change it whenever you feel like it. It's your single source of truth. And every good project plan is built on these three pillars, these three baselines. The scope baseline answers a simple question: what are we actually doing? The schedule baseline answers, when are we going to do it? And the cost baseline, that answers, how much is this whole thing gonna cost? Get these three agreed upon, and you've got a solid foundation. Okay, so the plan is set, the map is in our hands. Now it's time to actually start the journey, to navigate the project's path from that first little spark of an idea all the way to the finish line. Pretty much any project you can think of follows the same logical flow, broken down into 5 groups. First, you initiate it. You get the official green light. Then you plan it all out. Then comes the fun part. You execute. You actually do the work. The whole time, you're monitoring and controlling, keeping an eye on things and making course corrections. And finally, you officially close the project out. Now, here's a super common mistake people make. These 5 groups are not project phases like design, build, and test. No. Think of this 5-step cycle as something that happens inside each of those phases. You initiate the design phase, you plan the design phase, you execute the design work. You see, it's a repeating pattern all the way through. So how you actually navigate this journey usually takes one of 2 main forms. The traditional approach is called predictive or waterfall. It's perfect when you know exactly what you need to build. You lock in the scope up front and follow a step-by-step process. But what if there's a ton of uncertainty?
That's when you use an adaptive approach, often called agile. The scope is meant to evolve, you work in short little bursts, and you get constant feedback from your customer along the way. Let's be honest, a project is absolutely nothing without the people who bring it to life. All the plans and processes in the world don't matter if you don't have the right team and the right environment for them to succeed. First up, let's talk about the sponsor. This role is so important. This is the person with the authority and, frankly, the checkbook. They don't just sign off on the budget. A good sponsor is your champion. They're the one who removes major roadblocks and protects the project. Having an engaged sponsor can literally make or break your project. Next up, stakeholders. And this term is way broader than most people think. It's not just your team and your customer. It is anyone who can be affected by your project, for better or for worse. That could be a government agency, a supplier, or even a local community group. Figuring out who all these people are early on is absolutely critical. Now, here's someone you'll probably be talking to a lot, the functional manager. This is the head of a department like IT or marketing or HR. And here's the key. They control the people and the equipment you need to borrow for your project. A huge part of being a project manager is building great relationships with these managers so you can negotiate for the resources you need right when you need them. If you work in a bigger company, you've probably heard of the PMO, the Project Management Office. They're there to standardize how projects get done, but their level of power can be all over the map. A supportive PMO is just there to help, offering templates and best practices. A controlling one makes sure you're following the rules. And a directive PMO, they're in charge. They actually manage the projects themselves. And this table right here, it tells a really important story about power. A project manager's actual authority really depends on how the company is structured. Over on one end, in a functional company, the department managers hold all the cards and control all the resources. But as you move across the chart towards a project-oriented setup, the project manager gets more and more power. Knowing where your company sits on this spectrum tells you a lot about how you'll have to operate. So we've talked about the project itself, the plan, and the people. But, no project exists in a bubble. So let's zoom out for a second and see how all these individual efforts connect to the bigger picture, to the overall strategy of the organization. This is where we get into programs and portfolios. A program is just a group of related projects that are managed together to get bigger benefits than you could get from managing them separately. A portfolio is even bigger. It's a collection of projects and programs that are all tied to a major strategic goal. Think of it like a pyramid. Individual projects are the bricks, programs are the walls they build, and the portfolio is the entire building. And this is it, right? This is the ultimate question. You've planned, you've executed, you've wrangled the team, you've navigated all the company politics, you've finally crossed the finish line. So how do you know if you actually won? What does success really look like? You see, true project success isn't just about finishing on time and on budget. It's measured by how well you balanced these 6 things. We've already met scope, time, and cost, the big 3. But you also have to deliver the right level of quality, manage your resources well, and navigate the project's risks. The trick is, they're all connected. If you pull on one, the others are going to move. Success is a constant, delicate balancing act. When you think about it, from the ancient pyramids to the smartphone in your pocket, every great human achievement started out as a project. It started as a temporary, unique effort to create something new. So now that you have the basic blueprint, the only question left is, what unique value are you going to create? What's your project going to be?